A lot of people know me for this, surviving a sword attack 7 months ago when I worked at a homeless shelter. But a lot of you might not know my full story and why I wanted to work at that homeless shelter helping people and why I'm such a big advocate for mental health. This is me at 16 years old, about to be sentenced to 20 years in prison. Because on February 9th, 2004, when I was just 16 years old, I did the unthinkable. I walked into my high school with a shotgun. Now, my intentions that day were not what we see too often with these tragedies on the news. I was not there to kill, but to be killed. And I could have stayed at home and ended my own life, and sometimes I still wish I had. But I was afraid. I was unable to pull the trigger on myself. And part of me also didn't want to die alone. I also didn't want to be forgotten. I wanted people to see me. I wanted them to see my suffering. Because I believed that I was alone in my suffering. I didn't know just how prevalent depression is and how too often mental illness is. So yeah, I wanted people to see me. And I also knew that I'd be harming people psychologically. I knew I'd be spreading the suffering that I felt like I had alone. But when I was in that school that day, I was not there to kill anybody. When I went into the hallway, there was a couple of students. One was right in front of me, and he ran for his life. I still see him every day. And I waited until he was gone. And I turned around a corner, and I seen two more students, good 40 feet down the hall. So I fired off 2 rounds into the ceiling and scared them away. And I walked around for a while. Now, I had stepped into one classroom just to see people. Like I said, I was afraid of being alone. I wanted people to see me, to see the pain and the suffering that I was going through. But what I ended up seeing was their pain, their suffering. I saw the fear and the terror in their eyes. But I left that classroom and I walked back out into the hallway, and I was walking down. And after a while, the vice principal, who came to investigate the sounds that he heard, not knowing that they were shotgun blasts, he came up behind me and grabbed me. And he grabbed at the gun. And we started to struggle. And during the struggle, my finger was on the trigger and the gun went off. And I didn't know that there was a teacher coming up behind us to help the vice principal detain me. I didn't even know I had shot somebody. He was hit in the leg. And I didn't know about that until later on. But yeah, I shot somebody. So I went to prison and spent 17 years in there. And I did my best to turn my life around. And I did my best to work on my mental health. And I began to speak out when I saw these terrible tragedies happening. Because I knew that I had to be a part of the change that wasn't coming. And when I came home after doing 17 years, I began speaking with law enforcement and school administrators and letting them know about my story and letting them know about how I believe we can stop these tragedies from happening. And I began working at that homeless shelter because I wanted to help do some good for the community I once hurt. I can't take back what I've done. I can't make direct amends to the teacher that I injured that day or to the students who I traumatized that day. I can't do anything to help them. So what do? I try to do something good for others. And if you believe I deserve this, so be it. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I don't want people to forgive me, to think that I'm a good guy. I don't care about any of that. What I want is for change. What I want is for people to realize that if we take mental health more seriously, that is just one step of many that can make drastic changes around the board. Not only stopping these tragedies that we see too often, but also stopping the suicide that we see among adolescents and children, let alone full-grown adults, let alone our veterans who don't get taken care of. We need change. And if I can be a part of that, so be it. Because obviously, nothing has changed in the past 30 years for mental health. Nobody's really pushing for it in schools as much as it should be. We've seen students who have survived school shootings cry out for help time and time again, and lawmakers ignore them. So here I am, the bad guy, the one who walked into a school with a gun, telling you, you need to change things.